Who you gonna call? Uh, Angry Black Men and Women. Yes, we're doing a special edition, and depending on how I feel, I may do. I still want to go back to Tip of the Spear, but I will be doing a show with Brother Quentin Kenton. That's right. Me and Kenton are going to do a show. We haven't done it in a long time. Come on in. Treat me like I'm white. You know that I'm out here. You know it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about Dump and Shiddy. Yeah, I know who we're talking about. Share, share this. Everybody that's out there, move it, move it, move it. You can hang up. You're dismissed. Okay, I got one person. Share this because we're rushing. We're rushing. Everybody that's on, share this with someone. Share this with someone that you think won't appreciate it. Share this with someone that will not appreciate this show. Okay, I got two people, and uh, Brother Quentin is about to open up his portal. I'm going to go into my other channel, start loading these channels up. I'm going to put this live, and we're going to put and this show is called Dump and Shiddy. Dump and Shiddy. Yes, this is going to be a political and a silly and intelligent show all at one time. This is Angry Black News Analysis. Don't you want Angry Black News Analysis? Have you guys ever listened to um, to a certain country's news, and these people really be telling what the hell is going on, and they're very mean about it. They're not like mincing words with whichever country they're mad about. You know, when our people talk about stuff, we have to kind of tone it down because we're not free. We can't say such and such is a bastard that hates us, and that's part of what's going on in this story. That doesn't really happen. No, it doesn't. Yeah, I know it's the truth. And as a result, you get a weaker news. I like news when the people from one country don't like another and they like be telling the truth. Well, we hate them anyway, and this is why we feel like we do. And it's actually more honest. There is a bias, but you know what the bias is. Like, I can't wait to see the news from Iran when they talk about how their president died. When they really talk about it, not the shit you've seen thus far. That's no real news. That's bullshit. I want you guys to know that you don't get the news until you get some foreign news where the people are mad and they don't like the people in the other country and they're going to tell the truth like they really hate the people. Now that's news. Let me see. I've got to put my other channel on. First, I have to make certain that I send this link to the right phone. Which phone did he send this to? Did he send it to this one over here? Because if he did, I need to send it to another one. Okay. Okay. What do I need to do with this? I need this to go share to one second. I'm just getting this put together. No, I'm going to send it this way. How is everybody? I see you, Brother Rollin. I'm just hustling. Doing this is kind of annoying. You know, if you ever saw people in the news, they don't do their own setup. The reporters do, but the anchor people, someone does all the stuff for them. And they just come in and they just kick it. They don't even write this script sometimes. Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Oh, I forgot. That's the problem. I put the wrong number in. There it is. Sent. Ping. Now I'm going to send this over. How you doing, brother Robin? I'm just in here just trying to get this thing hustled. Why is the light off on this one? Where are you? Let me just go ahead and put this as live. There you go. Hello. I'm just trying to get this stuff hooked up, sir, so I can get my guy. I'm a couple of minutes behind. Let me see. Just so I don't mess this up, let me do one thing. Hold on one second. Did this go in? No, this didn't go in. Hold 1 second. Is this in here? Okay, good. This is here. And I need to save to photos. Oh my God, there are 13 people. Who's on here other than Robin? Identify yourselves. Come out of hiding. Um, Let me see. I need to send this to. Okay. I hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's good. Let me put this thing on here. That's not the thing I want. Delete. Okay, I need to look. Where is it? Oh, it's in my Gmail. When did I send this? Okay, hold on 1 second. View. Hey Whitfield, what you up to, man? How are you? Good. I just added this. Um, hmm, that's one. Now, where's the other one? That's the old one. I added a new one. I don't see the new one. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. I just put this thing in here. Um, I'm doing okay. I may have to get my glasses. My eyes want to be silly tonight. Give me 1 more second. You're in Delaware? Okay, good. I can see better. I just want to get this thing moved. What else is happening? People, talk to me. I would love to hear what you guys are saying. Let me see this. You know what? I'm gonna just screen copy it then. Hell, this thing won't give it to me one way. Let me screen copy. Okay, so I look forward to Saying, why this thing do Bixby? I hate this. Wait a minute. Oh, I get it. I do it from here. All right. Let me go back. Back to do this one here. I do it like that. No, I don't want that. Mm-mm. Hold on 1 second. Hmm. Okay, I only need to push one button on that. Wow. Okay. Man, they've changed this thing. Okay. Give me 1 more second. How is everybody doing, man? How is everyone doing? I hope everybody is doing great. I hope everyone's doing great. Um, no, we're not talking about Israel. We're talking about Iran. I'm going to talk about Iran. I'm not trying to deal with Israel. Um, Israel is not on the agenda. Iran is on the agenda. Um, there are a lot of people talking about Israel. We don't need to do that. We need to talk about someplace else. And for all of you people under the age of 45, if your asses don't want to die at war, you need to learn something about Iran, because that's where the Israelis want the United States to have a war. So for all of you, you know every damn thing. Yeah, I know everything. I get it. Yeah, I know so damn much. Uh, Go ahead, mess around, and be at war with Iran. You guys will never, ever see the end of wars. If the United States goes to war with Iran, we don't need it. We need to avoid Iran. We need to have peace with Iran. Um, we don't need anything dumb to happen to us. We don't. We need to wake up. We need to recognize, if you're going to die for someone, die for yourself. Okay? If you're going to die for someone, die for yourself. I notice we don't do that. When the police kill people, I'm not trying to get anyone killed. I'm not encouraging anyone to hurt anyone. But if you're going to die, you should die for yourself. Okay? That's what I would say to you. You should not die for any unnecessary war. Anytime this country can provide resources for people who haven't worked a goddamn day in this country, haven't paid into the system, nothing, and you guys could get called off to die in some foreign war, what part of sucker coon don't you get that they're saying to you? Okay? You absolutely should be very concerned. You should be very concerned about a country that has no problem sending you off to die, and some other country for something that they won't even give you benefits, social benefits in your country, but will give it to a mass killer or a rapist from another country, but won't give it to you. And you asking me about Israel. That's the problem. People care too much about Israel and not enough about the country that they live in. I'm not hating on Israel. I'm not suggesting that you hate Israel. Damn, you know when you live with an old person, swipe up, pin. I've got to stop for a second. Um, let me see. Let me bring this brother in so we can go ahead and start. Um, let's see. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, no. It's There's hey, hello, AQ. No.
What have you done for me lately? It's schools. What have y'all done for us lately? If there's no answer, the only thing we owe them. Peace, family. We are here. We're here. Dr. Short and myself is here. We'll be addressing the Dump and Diddy. Whole bunch of things going on. Current event show. For all those that have been waiting, appreciate you guys for waiting patiently. Remember to like, share, subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel. As well as hit Dr. Short's Cash App, as well as hitting Let's Talk's Cash App. I will honestly say it's a lot going on, you guys. Everybody that's into this social media thing, you see things are moving fast and things are moving furious at a quick pace. So tonight we're gonna have a little bit of a variety of things that we want to talk about in reference to current events, as well as what's going on. We basically see a president whose plane went down ahead of a state, head of a country, and this type of stuff doesn't happen often, or by accident, or by happenstance. When these type of things happen, they happen for a reason. As well as what's going on in the quote unquote President Trump hush money case, where the most credible witness is a known liar, which is very interesting. And a few other things that you guys may want to ask Dr. Short about in reference to two events coming up fast. That is the reparations rally on June 15th, as well as the Patriarch Summit that Dr. Short and Seth C will be coordinating, hosting, looking for speakers, looking for men and women who want to focus on bringing the patriarch back and holding ourselves and holding other men accountable to be leaders, to be the head of their household, the head of their communities, and take our communities back without all this effery going on. What's up, Dr. Short?
I'm okay. I'm having a problem with my this thing is not allowing me to stream. So I don't know what that's about. But I'm good. I'm just having something act stupid. Don't worry. How's it going with you?
Uh, that heat jumped on me at work today, and I was, took me out after we had our conversation. I came home and I took a nap, and next thing I know, it was 8 o'clock. I'm like, man, I didn't expect to be laying down for that long, but other than that, I'm feeling better. Still a strange cough here and there, but other than that, Angry Black Man, what's going on? Black Larian, what's going on?
Well, I can't say that I'm angry, but I should be. Um, if the YouTube is strange, folks, please don't blame me. I have one that won't let me on. It won't let me in the stream. Go figure. Oh, wow. It showed me. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. It was on. Oh, no, no, no. This is showing my other channel, but it won't let me in this one. What's that all about? Do you want to resume your last stream? Yeah, let's resume it, whatever the hell this is. So it's saying that it's not on. Now it's going live. Yeah, Cat, don't screw with me. I'm busy.
So Angry Black Man, I see that you jumped out the gate with a question, or I know it's a rhetorical question. I know you probably have your own opinion. Dr. Short and I had a conversation about this earlier. He sent me some information, and he had just won live on his broadcast on Angry Black Man's Book Club, and Dr. Short was talking about before he joined this stream. Dr. Short was talking about getting news from different resources, and sometimes you get news. And the way that the internet works, we have access to news from other countries now without it really being censored. You just got to be able to find it,
or know what to look for, or be curious.
So Angry Black Man from the door, Dr. Short, he said, was it a crash or an assassination?
We can't treat news and information like a freak off orgasm. So to ask someone to say what happened, I don't want to say because I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. I saw a description where it said it crashed into a snowy mountain and there was a lot of snow. But when I saw pictures, I didn't see snow on the landscape. So, the sources, I mean, the media people lie. Everybody lies. I mean, if the Iranians probably deserve to lie, if any, they've been lied on. So I'm not calling the Iranians liars. But what I will say is there is a type of weapon called electronic pulse weapons. They have weapons that can make things malfunction, right? Which means that America sent ships into the Black Sea, which is dominated by Turkey and Russia, right? And the Russians were able to incapacitate the American ship where nothing worked, right? You can make everything not work. Okay, you can disrupt that. You need to understand that several American enemies have died in someone said RMP. Okay, RMP, remote something,
EMP.
whatever.
But it's EMP.
EMP, yes. Electronic pulse. Okay, it shuts everything down. It can jam everything. So if you're in something that relies on electronics, you're cooked. Okay, they're called pulse weapons, and you use that. So if you're counting on your technology, if you don't have like a screwdriver and a hammer, a fallback, you're ass out.
Or some rose.
So in reality, you and a helicopter's a hell of a thing to be in the air, and the electrical stuff not work. You can like glide a plane, you could do stuff and get a kind of a landing or stuff. A helicopter, it's going to go straight down like a stone, and your chances of surviving a helicopter crash are really, 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 really bad. One of my mentors survived potentially an assassination attempt. He survived a helicopter crash. But he walked with a crazy limp for the rest of his life. He was lucky to survive. Everybody else was killed. If you're in a helicopter crash and you survive, God likes you. Now, having said that, let's remember a couple of things. Number one, um, there are a series of things that are happening, not just in between Gaza and between Israel fighting Hamas and Israel fighting Hezbollah. You need to understand that there is a Islamic, Israeli, American, Russian Cold War that's been going on for the better part of 80 years. And what I can say to you right now is this guy Raisi, who just died, and his foreign minister, love him or hate him, they did a whole lot in this period of time they've been in to improve Iran's international standing and work against the sanctions regime that the United States and its partners have had against Iran. The Iranians have all kinds of goodwill and trade stuff. They're in the Belt Road Initiative, the Silk Road Initiative. They're in everything. I mean, every which way that they can get around what America's doing to them, they've just about done it. And particularly this last two, the foreign minister and Raisi, they've vexated the hell out of America's best efforts, and the Israelis and the European Union. They've driven everybody crazy. And they've been very, 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 very sharp. We're not doing Jews. You want to do Jews? There are a million other people doing it. Be my guest. We're talking about Iranians. So Raisi, who not only was the president and the foreign minister, and some other people were killed, about 8 to 10 people killed in the crash, but Raisi was tight with, and when you see the little black thing wrapped, well, do it on someone else's channel. And I'm not here to serve you. I'm here to do me. It's my channel. I do my stuff. I do what I want to talk about. Okay. You don't come and tell someone what they're going to talk about on the channel. I don't know who that person is, but I'll see them later. In fact, they're banned on the channel. I would never go on anyone's channel and tell people what they're going to talk about. That's why I started my own channels to talk about what I want to talk about. It's my channel. It's me. And if I don't interest you, it's a free country. It's a free internet. Take your ass to another channel. See you later. Now,
I know. Go ahead, Dr. Short.
But I was going to say, remember, right? You see what wear the black turban on his head, right? The black turban symbolizes you're a Muslim. That symbolizes that you're a descendant of Muhammad. Okay, so they killed a head of state. They killed a descendant of the prophet. Oh my God, there are a whole lot of mess in this person that died, and also he was one of the heir apparents to be the next supreme Ayatollah leader in Iran. Let me just break it down to you. If you're familiar with Vatican City, an Ayatollah in a very similar way, it's like a person in the Catholic College of Cardinals. The supreme Ayatollah is like the Pope. They don't have as many Ayatollahs, but those few are like the College of Cardinals, the highest ranking people in the Catholic Church. And they literally speak for Allah. They speak for God. That they're the final word on this earth about what truth is, what reality is, what law is.
Dr. Short, and Raisi, correct me if I'm wrong, he is actually the first one to be able to broker the relationship with Saudi Arabia
Yes,
as well.
I was going there. Raisi, not just there, he hooked back up with Egypt too. Raisi ended up being cool with everybody that had been allied with the United States. You have to understand the craftiness of this man because Egypt is almost totally dependent on American foreign aid to survive as a nation. Right? And you enter into diplomatic relations with the country that's on America's foreign aid tip. Saudi Arabia, going back to the meeting of King Ibn Saud and Franklin Roosevelt and the Bitter Lake in like 1943, for the last, what, 81 years, Saudi Arabia and the United States have been closely aligned. One of the greatest ruptures has occurred coinciding with Biden. Biden being the equivalent of a psychotic Eric Scissorhands. Remember that movie? The kid had scissors, he just cut up and destroyed everything. Biden is a complete foreign policy disaster with his rainbow Skittles sodomite cheerleader, Anthony Blinken. Well, the main thing they've been pushing is war and sodomy for the last 3.5 years. It's stupid stuff. Raisi forged a relationship with Mohammed bin Sultan, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. And this Mohammed bin Sultan doesn't like Biden. Mohammed bin Sultan did like Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Trump. But when Trump left, Biden's people offended the Saudis repeatedly. And Raisi and that foreign minister, who was very suave, literally began easing Saudi Arabia closer to them, where they brokered literally a truce. They've been at war with each other.
1,400 years, you guys.
Well, not 1,400, more like 1,300, going back to. But you have to understand that Iran didn't become predominantly Shiite till the last 400 or 500 years.
Yeah.
So there were points where Iran was heavily Sunni and there was Shia, but I think it went back about once or twice, and it's settled within the last 400 years, 400 years. Just before the Qajars came in, Iran sort of, I think if it's a Safavid, the people who just before the Qajars, and then that grew. Now, look, with the Saudis being Sunni and all the Gulf states that are monarchies disliking Iran because it is an Islamic republic that is Shia and they're Wahhabis Sunni, a lot of them, they're like oil and water. And this Raisi dude had people at least able to not fight and hurt each other. That's saying something for the Arab world. And Iran's not an Arab country. So it's really bad. There's a lot of animosity between Turks and Arabs and Farsi and Arabs and Turkic people and Turks and Turkic people and Arabs and Turkic people. When I say Turkic people, I'm talking about the Uzbeks, the Azeris, right? The Pashtu. They're different people that are sort of Turkish-like, but they may share kind of a Turkish, but they're not like the Turks in Turkey, although they have a lot of culture in common. The same way Koreans and Japanese have a lot in common with Chinese, but they're not Chinese. Vietnamese have a lot in common with Chinese, but they're not Chinese. And or the Kurds are not they're not Iranian, right? So they're a whole different linguistic group. So you've got all these people who don't necessarily see eye to eye. And this Raisi dude has been able to even play off all the other people and Kabul with the foreign minister and Iran's long term international um relations, right? To oh my God, someone's on here saying shout out to Rajova. Rajova, if I'm correct, is one of the people in the MEK, and that's a group. There's a group called Moshiddin Al Kok, right? It was established in 1965, almost 59 years ago. It was a Islamic Marxist liberation group that was opposed to the Shah, that was involved in um, the Iranian movement to get rid of Mohammad Reza Shah, the Shah of Iran, the one that got run out in like 1980. And what happens? Those folks, the MEK as they're called, or they're called the Iranian People's Revolutionary something, right? They have so many names, but MEK, uh, MKO, Mujahideen Al Kaq organization, but it's basically the same group started by a husband and wife that are Marxist Islamists who were in the Iranian revolutionary movement, and they got kicked out in I guess, between 79 and 81, they completely got like removed, driven out by the forces dominated by the Iranians who followed Ayatollah Khomeini, right? And so, yeah, it's called the Iranian Revolutionary Party, or the Revolutionary Party of Iranian people, however you want to break it down. And let me just say this very simply: the MEK in 1981, MEK, not MHK. I'm saying exactly what I know to be. I mean, you have your abbreviation, I got mine. Moshiddin El Kok. They blew up in 81 as many as 74, 75 members of the leading revolutionary group that was led by Ayatollah Khomeini. They almost wiped out the leadership of that group. In 83, they killed the prime minister and the president of Iran. They blew their asses up in a series of bombings. So, and these people, of course, ran initially into Iraq, and they were in Iraq until about 2016. And I believe that because Obama and them were negotiating their P5 plus one, the MEK got pushed into Europe. They were in France, and then from France, they've been in Albania. You get where I'm coming from. And so as a result, these folks do bombings and attacks, and they've had bases, and it's a husband and wife. Miriam is the husband, I'm forgetting, but their name is Rajava. Forgive me, Rajova, Rajiva. One of those. It's close, okay? Uh, the man is deceased, but the woman's still alive, and they get funding. They're here in America. The United States supports them, and they blow up and do things. You have to understand that in Iran, there are multiple ethnic, national, or terrorist groups that are supported by the United States or its proxies that operate in Iran. or they're supported by the Israelis. For example, Israel supports the Kurds, and all the countries in that part of the world at one point or the other exploit and use the Kurds. It's sort of like Black Americans are in America, or as the Russians used the Ukrainians when you had the Soviet Union. You know, every country has a group of people that you use, you get them killed in war. You don't really let them be a part of the society. And, you know, and they have everybody organized against them. So people need to understand that. And this is a situation that you have that Syria has a Kurdish population that's not happy. Turkey has a huge Kurdish population that's not happy. Iran has a large Kurdish population that's not happy. The young woman that died, who didn't have her hijab on up to standard in Iran, but he had all the protests, she was a Kurd. The Iranians and the Americans encouraged the Kurds to rebel against Saddam Hussein. There's a big Kurdish population in Iraq. And now the Israelis and other people support the Kurds for their own reasons. If someone doesn't like Turkey, then they do things for the Kurds. For example, in the last 2 years, Finland and Sweden, I think they joined NATO, but there was opposition to Finland and Sweden joining NATO. Part of the reason is that these countries had favorable relations with Kurdish liberation groups. Okay, there's been atrocities and ethnocide against Kurds in Turkey, Iran, Syria, Iraq. Remember Halabja and Saddam Hussein just started gassing Kurds, killing Kurds. I mean, doing all kinds of stuff. And yet the Kurds got weapons from America, other places. And by the way, when the French and English created this monstrosity called the Middle East with the Sykes-Picot Agreement in 1916, 1917, they set it up where the Kurds would not have their own state. So the Kurds are parceled again between Iraq, between Jordan, between Syria, between Turkey, between Iran. And they're not liked in any of those countries. So the Kurds are one of the groups that some of the Kurds, at least, will not be very favorable towards the government of Iran. I'm not saying Kurds are necessarily repressed. I'm simply saying there's a possibility the same way the Kurds aren't happy in Turkey, where their language and culture is repressed, where they do all kinds of things that have been quite terrible. In Syria, the Kurds aren't necessarily trusted or liked. And you also need to understand that there are various minorities, like people who might be Christian, who may not feel great about the Kurds because the Kurds helped kill the Armenians in Turkey back when Turkey had its genocide in 1915, 1916 of Armenian Christians. So the Armenians don't have a whole lot of love for Kurds. So you've got all these things working. The Kurds are on the west side, and on the southwestern corner of Iran, you've got people that are Iranians, but they're Arabic, in Khuzestan, where the oil is. Some of them have issues with being in Iran. And when Saddam Hussein went in, remember back in 80, 81, 82, they went in, they had this long war. Maybe 1 million, maybe 2 million people died on both sides. Hundreds of thousands of people died. Saddam Hussein wanted to get the Arab speaking or the ethnic Arab people, they call Marsh Arabs, and there's some overlapping between the people in that area. He felt like that was that. Plus, he wanted to control the waterway, the Shat al Arab, where where their ships would come through to sail out into the Arabian Gulf, if you ask some people, Persian Gulf, if you ask others. And that just piss everybody off, right? Um, this person here is really stupid. I'm tired of you. Go away. There you go. Bye, racist. So you've got those people that have their issues in the northwestern corner of Iran. You have people that are Azeri. 20% of Iranians are Azeri. Azeri are kind of Turkic type people. You've got Azerbaijan, they have a whole country rich in oil, an American ally with bases and all to spy on the Iranians. Even Raisi, this most recent trip, was messing with the Matrix because they were in the Azeri areas, like the Iranian parts of the parts of Iran where the Azeris were, where they were doing development, dams. They're trying to improve the infrastructure and all. This improves the status of the government. It improves relations with Azerbaijan, and it undermines America's effort to use all of the nations surrounding Iran as proxies to spy and to launch things against Iran. And like I said, 20% of the Iranians are Azeri. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme Ayatollah of Iran, is Azeri, in case you didn't know that. So you've got them, and some of them wouldn't mind being with the fellow Azeris instead of being under Iranians. I'm not saying that they're necessarily treated badly, but everybody may want to gravitate towards where they feel most comfortable. So you've got them on the northeast. I'm sorry, the northwest corner. You've got the Kurds in the northwest central part. You've got the Arabic-speaking Iranians down in Khuzestan. And way on the east side, you've got the Baluchis. And the Baluchis have a group called Jundallah. They've got a group that wants to break off from Iran. And there's a group within Pakistan that's a Baluchi nationalist group that wants to break off from Pakistan because they've got the mineral resources and the wealth, but they don't get any of the money, which is concentrated in the northern part, in the Punjab, in the big cities, and they don't benefit. So these people do a lot of stuff like bring dope into the country and other things because they don't like the government. They want to break off. And they get support from other people to attack the Iranian state. I'm bringing all this up to say there are lots of people who have a bone to pick with Iran, okay, that are local that can be tapped on to do dirty things. Okay, and I'm not blaming who did the most, who screwed who the most. I'm just saying it's there. And I want to remind everybody just a few months ago that Iran bombed what they called a nest of spies among Kurds. They said there was a Mossad base and they used a precise missile and they blew up everybody in the building. They like took out a whole group of Kurds. We don't know what they were doing from that building. We don't know how some of this technology this guy was talking about, electronic magnetic pulse weapons, we don't know what people can do these days with technology because a lot of us are lay people. But they're obviously doing something for them to want to blow up that specific building and have it pinpointed. We also need to remember in the early 70s that the Iranians stomped the Kurds. I believe Kissinger, someone we talked about, they encouraged the Kurds to do something and the Kurds rose up and they got beat down. So a lot of people have issues with the government. Now, having said that, Israel and Iran, Israel's been calling for a war against Iran for years. Israel has been trying to get the United States to go to war with Iran because Israel cannot defeat Iran even with nuclear weapons.
Say it again, Dr. Short. I don't think a lot of people really
Israel
understand.
cannot defeat Iran. Israel cannot beat Iran. Iran is a country with close to 90 million people. 50% or more of the Iranian population is under the age of 18, which means that their population is likely in the next few years to double. Well, if there's 80 or 90 million now, they're going to be like 150 million Iranians. I mean, damn, can you imagine 150 million people who don't like you, who have supersonic missiles that can pinpoint and just blow up anything? I would be very concerned if I was a Zionist in my little colonial state, my little bunker, and realize that after all these wolf tickets of beating up on the Palestinians and bombing the Lebanese and punking the Jordanians and cuckolding the Egyptians and all of this, and there's this group of people, they just want to fight you no matter what. If you understand that the philosophy of Iran since 1979-80 has been under Ayatollah Khomeini is the al-Quds, for Muslims to dominate Jerusalem again and rain or shine. They fund, if Iran can't feed its own people, they're sending some stuff to Palestinians. It's every year, no matter what anybody says, no matter what anyone does, they keep doing it. They're the most committed people, that government, to fighting Israel. There's nobody that wants to fight Israel more than the ideological leadership of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I'm not saying the Iranian people, I'm not saying everyone in Iran, but some of these people have a bone to pick with Israel. And I'm not making Israel good or bad. I'm simply saying they don't like the state of Israel, what it's done, how it's dealt with people. They see the existence of Israel as an affront to Islam, an affront to self-determination. And Ayatollah Khomeini had a philosophy which is common for many people in Iran, where they support what are called the Mustafim. The Mustafim are oppressed people under their Shia jurisprudence, because the Shia have been massacred, killed, messed over. They're butchered in places like Pakistan, Kuwait, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Iraq. People really have issues with Shia Islam. And whether you're straight up Shia, whether you're an Alawi in Turkey, whether you're Alawite in Syria, if you're Shia, some Muslims don't think you deserve to exist, that you're an apostate. You deserve what you get. Sure, it claps, and it has AIDS too. Wow, there are a lot of degenerate people.
Trolling you, Dr. Short.
Well, that's okay. Well, he has AIDS. Enjoy it. And he'll have TB if he sleeps with these illegal sex workers. But I just want to say, so back to the Shia, who are used to what? Ali and his father, people being massacred in Kabbalah. There's a history of martyrdom and suffering that the Shia have, right? And the Palestinians, and even South African blacks, people need to understand, the minute that the Shah of Iran was run from power, they immediately, the government of Iran under Ayatollah Khomeini, turned its back on white South Africa immediately because of their solidarity with the pressed people. They immediately got down with blacks in South Africa and other places fighting for their self-determination. Which is why when the Iranians took hostages at the U.S. Embassy, what was that, 1980, 70, 80? It's 80. It was 80. They let the black Americans go, except for the black dude that was in the CIA. Everybody else was free. We don't want them. Holding black people is silly. The black people are safer here with us having them locked up than if we let them go back to America. We don't want blacks Blacks aren't our problem. Go in peace. In fact, President Jimmy Carter and other people saying to the black people, stay hostages. Pretend that America's fair and just and there's no racism. Please don't come back. Now, all the black folks say, I'm taking the first ticket out, right? Only the black CIA agents stayed. We don't want them. And by the way, this is embarrassing to white Americans because they, when they want suffering and hatred for American foreign policy to be applied, they want all of us to endure the suffering and the hatred and the combat service for imperialist, racist, colonial policies that don't benefit us, neither inside the country or outside. And when they bring those people here, they hate us when we get here. We have nothing to gain from America's imperial project except for suffering, or they bring over people here to hate us, to sell dope, or to set up bad stores, or to be teachers that mistreat us, or to be prison guards, whatever. We don't like, and there's a history of black people being opposed to American imperialism until that queer Obama and this strange dude named Austin, this Secretary of the Army, this despicable man, he's a monster. Until he came along, there's some sense that Black Americans have solidarity with other people in terms of going through difficulty. I'm putting it nicely. So the Mustafim thing is real for the Iranians. People need to understand that Frantz Fanon, the Martinican psychiatrist who wrote Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mask, who had a significant influence on on the Iranian Revolution, right? These people, okay, were very much aware in Iran, had studied black people here, black Americans, until recently, till we got stupid up behind Jesse Jackson and Diddy and Beyonce and Obama. We used to stand for something. We used to stand for people that had dignity and integrity. And now we're the poster children for transgenderism, for sodomy, for AIDS, for degenerate music, for obesity, or for genocide. Little silly bitch at the United Nations that keeps voting against the ceasefire and the UN. That's not who we've been until Obama, and then oh, we're American. That means we can hate and kill people in foreign countries like white people. Now I really feel like an American. No, I'm proud to be an American because I can kill like Whitey, and then I'll slice up blacks and Jews. Right? Okay, it's disgusting. So the Iranians have supported the Palestinians, and there's nothing Israel can do about it. Not only that, the the Iranians, not only did they get tight with the Saudis, brother Q, they've gotten tight with the Pakistanis who have nukes. The United States has been treating Pakistan really bad. Pakistan is broke, and one of the things that Pakistan doesn't have is energy, and Iran is bathing in a sea of oil, offshore and onshore. Imagine if Iran offered a swap for nuclear technology from Pakistan in exchange for energy and exchange for food, because Pakistan doesn't produce enough food to feed its people. Pakistan, for a long time, is very close to America. America propped Pakistan up, but now America's pivoting towards India to counter China. China can't really do as much as it wants to do for Pakistan without indebting their asses, and the Pakistanis can't pay back. So the Pakistanis are trying to figure out what to do when you're broke, hungry, and alone. And Iran is sitting out there like the sexy mama with the big pocketbook full of money, gas, and food, saying a lot of people hate me, but I can help you. So you have to understand that this game that this Raisi and his foreign minister were playing, They're jacking up America's geostrategic thing. On top of that, the Iranians under Raisi have helped the Russians prevent America and its allies from propping up the Ukraine, where America is losing. Iran has played a significant role in providing kamikaze drones and other things that the Russians didn't have initially as they recalibrated to create a war industry industrial complex to produce the shells for the cannons and the guns. Iran laid it on heavy to give Putin everything he needed to fight against Zelensky, who's a Zionist, who's friends to Bibi. Remember, Zelensky in Kiev or Kyiv, now they're using the Ukrainian name.
Yeah.
I like Kiev, it sounds better.
It was Kiev all these years.
It's Kiev, right? So hell with that. You know what? Zelensky is a Jew, and what's his face? Netanyahu or Satanyahu is a Jew. And there's a strong Jewish community that's very, 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 very powerful in Ukraine. That's very tight with Israel. And they're anti-Iran. So Iran helps Russia beat down the Zionists in Ukraine. See, every time America moves, the Iranians do something else. The Americans are trying to chokehold the Chinese on oil. The Iranians start selling them oil in whatever currency they want to pay them in. We'll take the renminbi. You don't have to use dollars. I mean, everywhere they try, the Iranians are trying to crash the dollar. While all this shit's going on, everywhere you see people talk about getting rid of the dollar, BRICS, Iran is there. Drop the dollar. Drop the dollar. They're trying to crash the American economic game. I mean, and without fighting a war, without shooting, without bombing, without terrorism. And this Raisi dude, he's yanking Biden's balls. Look, let me explain this to you. What's been going on that people aren't explaining because we don't get the news, right? The people who don't understand the news, remember the what are those things called? The IEDs, the improvised explosive devices, where they could use something and it would take and send hot metal and fire hot metal and it killed the people inside the tanks. The Iranians were the ones that created that stuff that jacked up thousands of American servicemen in Iraq. They refined that technology, gave it to the Palestinians, and now the Palestinians with those RPGs have a mini improvised explosive device type shell on their RPG that they can fire at an Israeli tank. Whether it knocks the top off or not, the hot metal, which might be depleted uranium, God knows, gets in, and imagine being inside a tank with ricocheting white hot bullets. It must really be horrific for the Israelis inside those Makfa tanks when these people fire these things and you have the equivalent of red hot buckshot. Can you imagine being in a tank and that stuff, you're getting burnt up and penetrated by white hot metal? These things that the Palestinians have, some of the stuff they got from the Iranians. And of course, the Iranians helped the people in Lebanon with Hezbollah. And they're the ones that brought about these suicide bombers that drove the Israelis out of Lebanon. That's before they had tanks and the Katyushas. And every time you turn around and Israel's getting a black eye, it's these Iranians, either it's them or it's their friends, that just, they tire of this. They won't stop at anything to bring down the Israelis. slowly. It never ends. They help the Houthis or the Ansu, the helpers of Allah. I think, am I saying Ansarullah, helpers of Allah, initially didn't like the Iranians, but when they were so desperate because the Saudis wanted to steal their oil and take over their country and keep their little dictator in there, they turned to the Iranians. And if you understand, now the Iranians have the entire world trade by the balls. Their friends control Bab al Mandeb, that is the entry point into the Red Sea that leads to the Suez Canal, one of the most important places in the world for trade. And the Iranians have the Gulf of Hormuz. They've got that where they can cut off the Persian Gulf, where 60 to 70% of the world's oil goes through. And all the while, they've gotten those two moves. And not only that, the Iranians helped the Houthis enough to bomb the Saudi oil fields, to bomb Saudi cities. Even as they're being starved to death by the hundreds of thousands, the Yemenis were beating the Saudis with no air force, the same way Hamas has been beating the Israelis without an air force, because they got help from the Iranians with drones, with IEDs, with missile technology. And if the Iranians say they're going to help you out, they're not like what the Russians were with the Africans and others back in the day, where they give you some old Kalashnikovs and let you face your fate. They're more like the Cubans. The Cubans went in Angola and they kicked white South Africans in the ass. They stomped them at Cuito Cuernavalle, which is how you got a South Africa without a white government, although the Coon government isn't much better. So the Iranians have literally built up all of these or should say friends of theirs that can jam Israel. You have to understand that Israel gets a significant amount of its shipping through the Red Sea. Now that the Houthis have cut them off, Israel at this very moment is being strangled economically. A quarter of a million Israelis have had to flee northern parts of Israel. As many as 1 million Israelis have fled Israel. Nobody's going there for tourism. I mean, who wants to get hit by one of the little, even those little crude ass rockets can hurt you. Nobody wants to go to Israel for anything. We don't want to see baby Jesus and shit. I don't want to die, and I don't want to be Jesus on the cross if a missile hits me. Israel's in all this trouble, and it really got bad. It was bad before, but this Raisi dude, he wasn't like Ahmadinejad, the little short, dark-skinned one who looked like a Mexican that had too many tacos. This guy doesn't say much. He just does. You didn't hear a whole bunch of speeches? You didn't hear...
You guys in the chat, just to, excuse me, Dr. Short, for cutting you off. You guys in the chat, Dr. Short is giving us a history lesson on this region and what goes on and what has gone on historically. We need to understand that Raisi was only the president for 3 years. He accomplished all this stuff
in 3 years.
Power broker in 3 years.
In 3 years. I mean, God, give him a few more. Damn. Elections are coming up soon. He had the lowest amount of support in terms of people getting that office in Iran in recent history, but he got a whole bunch of stuff as far as the Iranian long strategy done. And America's effort to make the Pakistanis, everybody they tried to make fight the Iranians, it failed. Everything. The Iraqis, all of a sudden, in fact, remember when Trump blew up Soleimani? They end up, Raisi further improved the relations between the Iraqis and the Iranians, who typically don't like each other. This dude, they said he was brutal and cruel. I mean, he had a whole bunch of people executed in tribunals in the 80s. That may be true, but on a diplomatic level, when he didn't have to use a hangman's rope, he knew how to talk to people, to get people to work with Iran. And so think about it. Within the last few days, the king of Saudi Arabia is sick. I believe they're understating how sick he is. They say he has a lung infection. You know that uh, Mohammed bin Sultan, he, MBS, is the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. Him and the Iranians were clicking. If bin Sultan, Mohammed bin Sultan's father, dies, King Salman dies, he's king. If he doesn't like Biden, in fact, if he's turned off by America, and remember something, bin Sultan gave America a chance and Biden and them blew it. How it got blown is that they didn't say to Bibi when he got power, don't press down on the Palestinians. As soon as Bibi Netanyahu got elected, as crooked as he is, as much as Israelis don't like him, blah, 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 then some do, he got the meanest, nastiest, anti-Arab, sand nigger hating Israeli settler cabinet of all times with that Ben Gravir and these people that just absolutely hate Arabs and Palestinians. And they really pressed down on the Palestinians and nobody said anything, right? And then October 7th came. They literally talked. I mean, they let Blinken talk. Saudi Arabians were going to hold their nose and connect with Israel, and they're promising them access to all the oil and stuff that's under Palestinian land that they want to steal and the gas that belongs to the Palestinians in Gaza. And then October 7th occurred. And Bibi Netanyahu and them knew all about the Palestinian plan to rebel and didn't stop it. Can you trust the person that would let that happen? I don't think I could be friends to you if you knew someone was going to move on you like that. How are you going to treat me? So now everybody knows that they let this thing happen. Remember I was saying to you this is an inside job. There's no way. How these people, they tell the people in Gaza how many calories they can have, whether you can have crayons, how much water you can get, how many hours of electricity. How can you have an army that goes out and like kills people? And so wait, so understand, everybody now has to step back from Bibi because, dude, you're dirtier than the rat's ass. Your own people hate you. And you treat the people so bad until people that have been written out of history wrote their asses back in bloody Gothic letters that we ain't going no place. And then you look at the other thing that's happened. Most people don't know, but Jordan, right? Queen Rania of Jordan is a Palestinian. And basically 85-90% of Palestinians, of Jordanians are Palestinians. Jordan is basically Palestine light, whether they say so or not. And they got to let their asses be out in the street and protest because if they really piss those people off, you're going to have a 3-state solution. They're going to have Jordan, they're going to get the West Bank, and they're going to have Gaza. And not only that, but who's pushing this? Let me just help you. Even on the West Bank, do you know what the dominant political party is if you didn't have henchmen with guns from Israel and America? Do you? Hamas. In Ramallah, the unofficial capital of the Palestine Authority, and on the West Bank, Mahmoud Abbas, the totally sellout, corrupt, filthy, octogenarian piece of shit who is the dictator of the Palestinians in the West Bank. Nobody likes him. He can't even travel among his own people. Hamas is so popular And you know what? Notice how the Israelis, they've killed maybe they've killed about 900 people in the West Bank, but they haven't killed thousands like they did with the Intifada. Do you know why? Are you aware, at least it's really picked up under Raisi, that the Iranians have some elaborate smuggling process where the Palestinians on the West Bank have guns like they ain't never had before? And not guns from America or Israel, but guns courtesy of Iran. And the shits are good too. Remember the Israelis tried to storm the Palestinian camps last year and they got the asses beat. They're shooting at us. We're supposed to be doing genocide. Nobody can fight us back. We're white. We're God's chosen people. And we hate dark-skinned people. And all the white evangelical apostate liars that are racist support us, right? And they got their asses kicked by Palestinians using IEDs. And where'd they get guns from? Do you know that they have tunnels? Do you know that the Iranians are friends to the North Koreans? Do you know the North Koreans have been digging tunnels for 70 years? Do you? Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
You guys in the chat, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Support the channel, support Dr. Short's Cash App, support Let's Talk's Cash App. It's very important that we understand that we may not believe or think that this stuff affects us here in America, but it absolutely does. And President Raisi, who died in an airplane crash, what he was able to accomplish in the 3 years as president, honestly, when you go back in history, probably 20, 30, 40 years from now, he probably did more for the progress of
Iran's foreign policy than, no. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying you don't have to like Iran. You can be pro-Israel. I'm not saying who to support. But if you were against Israel, this dude is like the Michael Jackson of anti-Israeli international politics. You've got,
without firing a weapon.
Well, they fired the missiles, but they didn't kill one person. And they bombed Israel's Secret Service in the desert in the Negev. That's not in the American news. They have other people bombing military installations all over Israel. We don't get any of the news because if American people knew how bad this Zionist project looked, people would be saying, why can't they have a ceasefire? If they can bomb your harbor and all this kind of stuff, who's to say they don't bomb the Knesset? Who's to say they don't start bombing the stores? They have the capacity to do this, and I'm not encouraging it. I'm not calling for anybody to hurt anybody, but it does have. And God, I will say this every time. I have, according to DNA, wow, some kind of Iranian lineage and some Jewish lineage. And this is, so I like Iranian people. I really like some of the Jewish teachers and people I know growing up. I am not mad at people's background. What makes me angry with people is how they treat fellow human beings when they know better. That includes everybody. I feel about that about Black America, everybody. I may be in an ethnic group, but if I'm a good person in that group, I have dignity, I have character, I represent my people as a person that has some honor, integrity, grace, refinement. Okay. There are people who are Jewish who are getting the hell kicked out of them on campuses across this country, fighting for the Palestinians, going to jail, getting stabbed. They're not dying like the Palestinians in Gaza, but to be a rich trust fund Jewish kid, to wake up and find out that you haven't been told the full truth about what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank, and to take a stand. I wish our people, Black Americans, would take a stand for reparations for Black political prisoners, for missing persons, for organ harvesting. And I'm not talking about hurting anyone, just so you know, I'm not in here to rag on Jews. I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you when someone is rotten. Bibi Netanyahu is toxic. He is a horrible human being. And anybody working with him is suspect to be the same because he's a criminal under Israeli law. This is genocide, what they're doing, but there's also a genocide going on in Sudan, that the United Arab Emirates and the United States and maybe Saudi Arabia have something to do with. They're mass killing people because they are seen as blacks and not Arabs. It's morally wicked. Genocide is as wicked in Darfur as it is in Rafah or Ramallah. There's genocide going on in Congo. We're going to get to those next. I'm just going to say this. The Israelis wanted revenge for the 9 supersonic missiles that did hit their targets that has not been reported in the Western American news. They wanted to attack, and there's a news story. I don't know how well it is, but some Israeli planes were prevented from attacking Iran. I believe that the United States, the same way Soleimani was killed in 2019, where Israel backed out in the last minute, and Trump had an Iraqi leader, military leader, and an Iranian leader blown up with the missile. I believe that that this could be what happened. That America and Israel says, "Hey, look, as Biden's trying to get Israel to stop fighting. Okay, if I kill Raisi, if we snuff him out, if we choke him out, can I get you guys to calm down so I can win this election?" You know, they make deals like this. I'm not saying it did, but these things have happened to Patrice Lumumba, to Trujillo in Panama, to Trujillo in the Dominican Republic, right? To Gaddafi. I mean, people have been murdered. They've had a gentleman's agreement and they destroyed someone. They did it to Mossadegh in Iran. They may have poisoned Nasser, right? They've had people assassinated. They decided to hang Saddam Hussein, whether you like him or not. They hung him. All right. So watch this Iran thing. It's not finished. And I want to say to you, the Iranians are patient. They're biding their time. They understand something. And let me do the numbers for you. Even if the Israelis have killed 200,000 people in Gaza, if they've killed 300,000 people in Gaza, there's still 2.2 million Gazans. There are at least 3.5 million people or more on the West Bank, round up to 4. 2.5 plus 4 is 6.5. There are 2 million Palestinians that live within Israel. 2 million plus 6 million is 8.5. Even if you take 1 million off, it's 7.5. Do you realize for every Jewish person, there's a Palestinian? And I didn't count the Palestinians in Lebanon or Syria. Oh, and I left out the 10 million Palestinians in Jordan. The Israelis are already outnumbered. It's not going to, the population bombs already exploded. And there are Palestinians all over the world, as these demonstrations show. People that have intermarried, intermixed, as well as the American attacks on the Middle East have brought people from Islamic countries to places like Michigan, Texas. So these populations are growing with large families. They intermarry, they meet fellow Muslims. So you've got a Palestinian diaspora that may be 3-4 million additional people. That population is going to continue to grow because they don't kill their babies like our pork chop, sellout, traitor black feminists do. They may have gay Palestinians, but they don't treat sodomy like it's some major social advance. It's degenerate. Feces on your penis is nasty. Feces in your mouth is nasty. A woman with another woman is an abomination before God, period. You may like it. You like cocaine, okay? Like getting drunk. You like fentanyl. The wages of sin is death. Yes, I said it. I'm a Christian. You don't like it. Too bad.
Hey,
Now,
Dr. Short,
mhm.
let me ask you, because you mentioned the gentleman agreements that goes on, and we can segue into something that we both saw earlier. What happened in the beautiful DRC?
Yeah, well, you saw some venture capitalists with some other people try to get rid of the democratically elected president of the Congo, Etienne Tshisekedi Jr., whose father was systematically denied the presidency of the Democratic Republic of the Congo that was used to be called Zaire, and they got shot down. And it's Americans. And I'm not picking, but someone asked, the names sure look like they could be Khazarian names, Ashkenazi names of the people. And this has been going on. And there were Ashkenazi people that have been involved in insurgencies, rebellions, and things that have where they've profited off of diamonds and other minerals at the expense of millions of lives of Black people in the Congo. I only need to tell you there's a place called Shaba province, and there was a man named Shambe. And Shambe was a Congolese that did not want to be a part of the Congo, and he was propped up by uh, Jewish entrepreneurs and financiers. And so, people, I'm not picking. I told you I have Jewish ancestry. I do not hate Jews, but I will tell the truth. I will tell the truth about no good Black Americans. I will tell the truth about no good anybody, any place, anytime, anywhere. I'm anti evil. I'm anti degeneracy. I'm anti racism. I'm anti exploitation. I'm anti dropping 5-ton bombs on families and then telling me if I don't like it, I'm anti Semitic if I don't like seeing dead babies. Anti hell. And imagine a person that is Turkic telling me seeing Semitic kids getting killed is anti Semitic. That's irrational. It's evil. It's stupid. It's bullshit. And no, did you hear me advocate anyone blowing up a bus, sir? Did you hear me say suicide bomb? Did you hear me say war is the answer or war is good? War is an awful thing that happens, and until the kingdom of God comes, where people turn their pruning hooks into plows, the swords and all into tools to farm and make peace, this is going to be a hellish situation. Hating anybody. Don't hate white people, because if you hate white people, you're going to kill Black people. These Jews hate Germans so much they've killed Arabs. People uh, hate colonialism so much in Sudan they kill each other. When you hate, it destroys your soul. I didn't say you had to worship or suck up to people that hate you, but there's got to be a more intelligent way to resist evil than to become what you don't like. Once you become that you've hated, you've lost. And that's what's happened, unfortunately, with a lot of Jewish people who do not mean evil, but are so driven in how they feel about a land they thought they say was unpopulated, which isn't true. A land without a people, and they were a people without a land. That's not true. It's not historic. And to try to double down on that, you end up becoming the very people you fled from: Buchenwald, Auschwitz, Dachau, Mauthausen, right? Awful things. I was raised by Holocaust survivors. I have absolutely no love for Nazism or people who kill anybody. That's Slavs, that's Blacks, that's anyone. We have no right to murder. Thou shalt not kill is a commandment of God. We may not follow it, but it doesn't mean it's not a commandment. Now, moving right along, back to Congo. It failed. And it's not the first time. And this happens all the time in Africa. You get some white guys with some money, and maybe you get some mercenaries. There used to be a guy who was French named Denard, and they would go around and attack weak African countries or states and try to take over and basically make it into a new slave colony and just steal everything. It failed, thank God. God bless Congo. And I want to also say that it's a good sign. It's a good sign. There are moves happening in Africa. I don't know if you saw, but one of the former political prisoners who wasn't allowed to run for president in Senegal, named Sonko, was complaining that they did not want to push LGBTQ in Senegal just to be able to get foreign aid from America. This is very interesting. I also want to say to everybody who's pro-family, right now, maybe in the next few weeks, I'm going to get to meet one of the leaders who's been fighting for pro-family causes in East Africa, Bishop Martin Sempa of Uganda. He's in Virginia. His son graduated a few weekends ago. His other son's going to graduate on the same day, the day after we have our reparations rally here in Washington, D.C. I just want to say to everybody watching that there's going to be a film that premieres in the next 2 days called Microphone Check on the hip hop music and where it really comes from, produced by none other than Tariq Nasheed. If you look up Microphone Check, you can find out that the film is being shown. It starts off in New Orleans on the 22nd. On the following day, it will open here in DC, Chicago, Dallas, let me see, Atlanta, Detroit, Cleveland. It's also going to open up on the 25th, I believe, in New York. But look that up. In fact, if I could, well, I have all my stuff booked. But Microphone Check, if you look that up, can you look it up, Q? It's opening up in cities and many. It's going to be in Denver. Okay, well, I'll be at the DC showing. I'm one of the interviewees. I wonder how much time I get to talk in that. That's going to be interesting. On top of that, if you're in the DC area, on the 15th of July, we're going to have a reparations rally. You're welcome. I'll be one of the speakers. I promise not to talk too long. So those are the commercials. I also want to let everyone know that in August, as part of Pat Talk, which Brother Q and I, we want to promote Black men being responsible in their families. We are promoting patriarchy. We don't care two damns about feminism. Feminism must go. It must be purged from the lives of Black people. It should be driven out of humanity. Feminism and humanity can't coexist. I'm convinced of that. The longer I live, we're going to have a Patriarch Summit on the 24th of August. I do have a GoFundMe. If you want details on that, you can always email me at wrandyshort@gmail.com. wrandyshort@gmail.com. I will happily send you information on Microphone Check. I will send you information on the reparations rally.
It's in your chat. I'll put it in your chat and I'll put it in my chat.
Okay, cool. I will keep putting that out there. And also, can you put the GoFundMe in my chat?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're trying. Yeah, we want to get a few $1,000s. And no, I do this from my basement. I don't have an expensive podcasting place. We do these things from home. But we need some money. We need to book. We want to have it ideally in a nice place. We want to be able to serve a little bit of food. We want to have a few speakers. We want it to be nice. We want the literature to be good. And we hope to have good speakers. It should be a day event in August. More is forthcoming. Help us get there. And I know initially we do need to come up with a minimum. I put down 7. I know Chef is trying. We're trying to at least come up with about $2,000 to secure the venue, to have the security, and have any necessary equipment. We're going to need other things. We may want to give honoraria to the speakers. So, we want a few $1,000s to do it the right way. I think getting men together in a positive way, holistically, where we'll be talking about health, self-defense, mental health, food, family, and to get experts and not just talking heads. And it's not just a meeting, but to look to see how can we create a working relationship with farmers, business people, to support each other. Even if it's 2 or 3 in one city, 2 or 3 in another city, I believe that this is what can be done. OG brother, I sent you an email. When I sent you the email, in the response is the email of the person in St. Louis that I want you to contact. I didn't give the phone number, but you can email them. They will respond. So I would do that. I hope you're well. Now, thanks for the commercial break. And I want to thank everybody for coming back to the Angry Black Men's Book Club and for supporting Brother Q. And between the two of us, how many views have you gotten? I know you have 250,000 to 300,000 views now, right? How many do you have?
I think it might be a quarter of a million.
You have 250,000. And I have at least 140,000. I thank you all for your 140,000 views. I wish I had $140,000. But I know I take 14. We can get a lot done with small amounts. So my Cash App is $ Dr. Randy Short. Dr. Randy Short. Dr. Randy Short is the Cash App. Dr. Randy Short is my Patreon. You have to give me a whole lot. You could give me $2 a month. If you realize I've got 2,000, I've got over 2,000 followers. If each of them gave me $1 in a month, I could do everything I need to do and improve what I have. At certain people, they'll give you like 100, and I'm like, wow, thank you. But there are people who could give 2. Someone sent me 2 the other day. I appreciate it. If everybody I had sent me $2 in a month or 3, we could just get immense more things done. So much more could get done very quickly. There are other people whose shows don't offer any information, nothing. I'm looking at Sister Star Thompson. She's moderating. She's thrown more money at me than pro football players throw at strippers. I'm like, and so it's great. It's been like a whole week, and she hasn't sent anything. Thank you, sister. Let somebody else give. It's like trying to get famous, like she's trying to pick me up. I'm so shy. I'm teasing. I'm being silly, Star. Look, we can help each other, and it doesn't have to be a burden to anybody. I'm serious. Or if you don't have a lot to give, I'm shadow banned so heavily. If you could simply share the content of the channel like this, for example, I should have maybe, if there are 43 people watching, if I had 40 likes, that would be nice. I should have lots of likes. Like I have 26 people over here, 41 over here, so many over here, there. Like it, and then share it. Share it, share it, share it, because you have no idea. I looked today, and they went out of the way. I used to have as many as 1,000 interviews on Google or YouTube. They've literally removed it, made it almost impossible for you to find me. And it's not like I'm trying to be famous. It's, I'm not interested in being famous. Look at how I'm presented. I could do a little more pizzazz. I'm not right now. Later, we could jazz it up. I worked in mainstream television. I understand sets and all that. I'm not doing it. Not yet. I like the homey feel. You know exactly who I am. You hear my cat disrupt me. You know when I have to make a bathroom break, but you can't hear my toilet flush. It's got a silent feature. So you don't know what I did on my break. But please share this content. And I want to greet all the people from overseas in Africa to El Meu Amigo no Brasil. Eu quero diga a você muito obrigado pela sua participação em nosso programa hoje à noite. Abraços. E eu estou uh, entendo. Não, não, eu estou aguardando para seu mensagem eletrônico. Pasca, eu te digo meu endereço eletrônico ontem à noite. Eu estou muito, muito zangado com você. All right. Now, so that's for me. E meu irmão negro no Brasil. My black brother in Brazil. Como o policial esquadrão do Maltar na seu país. É horrível. Absolutamente. Você sabe, né? Okay. We're just talking about killer cops. It's the same stuff everywhere. It never changes. So look, globally, things are bad. Globally, in fact, we need to talk about some place that nobody talks about. What's not being covered far, 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 far away from America in the middle of the Pacific is a place called in French Nouvelle Caledonie. In English, it's New Caledonia. It is a French colony where the black Polynesians have been catching hell. They have a huge amount of nickel that the French take, and the people there are suffering. The majority, well, the original inhabitants, the Palestinian or the black Americans of New Caledonia, are called Kanaks, Kanak. And what the French have done, they have such contempt for the people. They made the people ashamed of being Kanak. In fact, up until the 80s, when the people were called Kanak, it was a way of calling them nigger. Where have we seen that before? Where you make the very identity of a people disgusting to the people themselves. And over the last 6-7 days, those people, I met them back in 1980, 85 or 86. They were here at Howard University trying to meet because they were studying Black American Black Power, believe it or not, which is why I think Diddy, who I call Shiddy, we're going to trash him. Don't worry. We're coming to his sorry ass. People used to look to Black Americans for inspiration. There was a Black Panther Party in India. There was a Black Panther Party in New Zealand. There was a Black Panther Party in Israel. There were Black Panthers all over the world. I'm not saying the Black Panthers were perfect, but they did a lot of good work. You only hear about the shootouts. You only hear about someone got some extra sex, whatever. But the Black Panthers had all kinds of programs that helped people. I recall when Black folks were about something. Now they've replaced it with this degenerate, vulgar dick hop music, and it's crown prince, degenerate, Diddy, the man who kicks women in hallways and has people eat cheesecake out of his rectum. This is what we've fallen to. In fact, the difference between the Palestinians and the Black Americans is that they've held on to their dignity and their culture, even though they have a drug problem and they have a mental health problem. They've refused to become totally monstered out by people that hate and oppress them. We have to cease from being wicked and despicable to ourselves. And by the way, when we act and behave like Sexy Red and Nicki Minaj, who's not even a Black American, or Kamala Harris, who's not a Black American. And can I tell my joke? Yes. My joke. What does Kamala Harris's family have in common with a firehouse? A lot of holes. And Brother Crew, you're exactly right. They're Black Panthers. They were called the Dalit Panthers. Um, Black Americans influenced the movement for the untouchables in India. We had a great influence globally on people struggling. In fact, the Iranians have studied. I was in Iran. I was at the University of Tehran. I went to one class, and the Iranian young people knew more about the police killing Black Americans than any classroom I've been in my life. They knew everything, every date, every person. We're talking about Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser. These Iranians literally they had, because some of them didn't have computers, had whole notebooks written full of all the Black American history that they had memorized. And I can say to you, when I taught Black students in America, I couldn't get their attention. I got more attention in an Iranian classroom. Every single solitary thing I said they wrote down. I mean, I I I tried to go slow, and it says you're going too slow. I says you're right. No, we'll follow you. We'll write as fast as you tell us. I was like, wow, where I come from, I take and repeat, and did you get that? Okay. We're not serious about survival if you're not serious about God, you're not serious about your history, you're not serious about people who are interested in knowing your history and your culture. But back to New Caledonia, you're not hearing it in the news. And it's not just there, too. If the French don't act right, this is my prediction. Don't blame me. Well, Sister Brooke, she's the sister that was fighting against the racist Asians in Brooklyn. The Red Apple boycott, brother Q, she's on here. Hi, Sister Brooke. Anyway, look, if the French don't get it together, the French have forgotten who trained the Vietnamese with the artillery to drive them out of Vietnam at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu. The Chinese. The Chinese might just intervene in New Caledonia because the Chinese need nickel. And they may get a better deal dealing with the original owners of the nickel than dealing with the racist French. I want to say to you, there's another place in the Pacific that has everybody upset. It's called the Solomon Islands, and the Solomon Islands got their independence in 1946. The Solomon Islands got their independence, and in part, what influenced the people in the Solomon Islands to want their independence from their colonizer? It was the presence of Black American soldiers. Black Americans inspired them to seize their own destiny. It is a crime that Black Americans who do the right thing here can't influence our degenerate, thick-headed, backstabbing, liar, filthy, vulgar masses who won't do the right thing because you're caught up by the wine of the world. It's despicable. Just a few years of a couple of Black men in one place and a nation's born. And those same folks came back to America and birthed the civil rights movement, Black World War II veterans. If you wonder why Black veterans have a suicide rate almost 900 times that of white men, it's because when they come back, they are marked and they don't get the same service. There is no major outcry in this country for Black veterans who won the Civil War that freed us, at least in part, who've consistently stood up for us and defended us when we had race genocides where Blacks had to fight mobs of white police and white killers. And we right now, and I'm going to point out, no good modern sellout Black feminists support illegals getting benefits as Black veterans who suffered in Vietnam. Many times they were in jail because they wouldn't kill other people in an unjust war. So 90% of the people locked up in jails and military prisons in Vietnam were Black men, and solidarity with Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Black Panthers, and the rest of humanity. and we let them be thrown into the streets for illegals, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We need to take a good, ugly look at ourselves and start being honest about how we get things wrong all the time. And you can't blame, you shouldn't expect people who consider you subhuman to tell you how to stand up for your own dignity and integrity any more than you should expect them to educate your children, feed you, or provide you medical care, or to provide an honest depiction of God or his son. That's just retarded. Or to tell you what your hair should look like, or for you to get ritually scarred with tattoos so you can't donate blood. And everybody can use our blood because a lot of us have universal blood. The few of us that donate blood, because we can't use everybody's, but everybody can use ours. But that's another discussion. New Caledonia, Noumea is the capital. The Solomon Islands, I want to just say, they're working with the Chinese. Don't think that New Caledonia might not hook up with the Chinese and the Chinese going as peacekeepers. And I need to remind you that the French shoot and kill Black French people down in the French Antilles in the Caribbean, and they riot every so many years as well. Whereas you're told that they are French citizens, not really, sort of. Every country that has a history of slavery, colonialism, and apartheid and mass discrimination has a caste system. Don't feel special. Now, we did some news analysis, and let me just close by saying we're going to find out what happened to President Raisi and the Iranian foreign minister. And the United States, not only does it deny Iran all kinds of necessary things, like for medicine. They keep talking about Iran and nuclear medicine. Iran is one of the foremost countries, and I'm sorry, nuclear weapons. Iran is one of the foremost countries in nuclear medicine because the American pharmaceuticals would rather poison American people, and they don't want anyone to come up with treatments or cures for things, diseases that they're probably making in Wuhan. They, along with other people, say that the Iranians are trying to make nuclear weapons, so the Iranians who make medicines that work can't develop them to compete with pharmaceutical corporations, which have a lot of owners that are in Israel and in New York. Don't blame me. I don't know how that works out. Or they're in London or Paris. Don't blame me. Now, and I want to say this to you. They're denied that, so Iranians die by the thousands every year due to a lack of medication. That also happens to people in Cuba, many of whom are Black. For all of you Pan-Africanist people, all kinds of people are dying due to, and by the way, those sanctions were applied to Zimbabwe. They just got changed. They're looking to apply them to South Africa. They now have sanctions on Uganda. And I want to go back to Iran and say that the Iranian aeronautic industry, which the people are afraid of, they can't get parts. However, the helicopters, the Bell helicopters that these people flew on, are very old but are well maintained. They're among the best made helicopters in the world. Anytime they could be used for like 40, 50 years, they're well maintained. They wouldn't have put their precedent on a poorly maintained helicopter. Why did 3 of them make it and 1 did not? Seems like they would have put the less important people on the worst maintained helicopter, which is how they do things. So how was the best helicopter the one that crashed? And there is a way to manipulate the GPS as well as the radar that can cause a plane to crash. They killed the president of Mozambique, Samora Machel, using a kind of beacon or whatever to misguide the plane where it crashed, and it killed the gentleman who was fighting against America's and Israel's ally, the white racist settler government of South Africa. Isn't it interesting that another president and a lot of his cabinet got killed. Samara Machel, who's one of the key people and organizing all the African countries to fight against Israel's favorite nation outside of the United States and its nuclear partner. South Africa had nuclear weapons with a plan to bomb and kill black people with it. Oh, yes, they did. And one of the greatest diplomats at organizing the nations to move to force South Africa to change, like Raisi, was a Mozambican by the name of Samora Machel. And he was killed by the manipulation of the aviational technology at that time. He was working on putting pressure on South Africa to cut a better deal for the black people who are being treated like the Palestinians are today. Isn't it interesting that that happened about 1986? It's just about 40 years ago. And this happens, the same sort of thing. A plane crashes and it destroys the hope of a movement for change for people. These things don't just happen. They don't. And so we need to stop playing games. I'm not saying this is what happened, but remember, Israel hasn't taken credit for bombing the Iranian consulate in Beirut. They don't have to take credit. They don't take credit for Soleimani or the Iraqi general that was militia leader that was killed. They let America take it all. It's not improbable. I didn't say it was, but it could be. And they assassinate scientists, they bomb, they do these things all the time. The CIA is the master of dirty tricks. Mossad says make war by what? Deception. I'm going to stop there.
So, if anybody in the chat has a couple questions for Dr. Shaw before we close out.
No, we got to do Diddy and then we're done. We got
yeah. We got to talk about Shiddy. And,
we're going to talk about Shiddy and we're going to talk about Dump. Let's just do him real fast. Let's do Trump first. If you
Michael Cohen is the credible witness.
If you guys are watching these trials, I'm sorry. If the best that Biden's got is abortion and all these kangaroo trials for Trump, if that's the only thing that's going to keep his pedophile ass in the White House, he's already lost. Okay? He's already lost. And if you're watching the trial with Cohen, who he's just a liar, he has stolen from Trump. If he steals money like that, how am I to believe that Trump screwed Stormy Daniels? This man he's lied before Congress. He's lied to the FBI. He's lied to the prosecutors. He's lied to the defense. He's lied to the Trump organization. He's made $4 million plus lying. Why would he have an incentive to tell the truth? He doesn't. He's gotten rich lying on Trump.
Under oath.
Under oath. Contempt of Congress. Why didn't they put his ass in jail longer? Look, this stuff is falling apart. That's why CNN and them are not really pushing it that hard anymore. They thought they had some red meat. Look, we knew Trump was a hoe. Come on. That's like saying Michael Jackson can moonwalk. That's not going to make people not vote for someone that Trump screwed a person with big titties. He did. I'm not saying it's right. He was married. People love Jack Kennedy. He's screwing people. Jackie O was finding lots of other women's drawers in their pillowcases. We still like the Kennedys. Teddy Kennedy said raping people, killed Mary Jo Kopechne at Chappaquiddick. People are not going to not vote for you over sex. Bill Clinton was more popular for sticking a cigar in Monica Lewinsky than boinking Hillary. First of all, I mean, he belongs in the Guinness Book of World Records to even be with Hillary Clinton as managed as she is. So let's just move along and say to you, if you're watching the trial, it should be thrown out of court. We did shows, and I talked about that sorry slut who thinks she has gorilla grip vagina, Fanny Clitis. She's been removed from the trial. Just every person they pick up, he's almost been like a swashbuckler film. Have you ever seen those Errol Flynn movies? And the guy's swordsman, he's just cutting people up every time he gets up. He hit, then he cuts. Trump has cut down everybody that they've raised up to attack him. And we're not saying that Trump is completely honest. We're saying Trump is a businessman.
Just beat him in the election in November.
Yeah. He business people lie, they exaggerate. I'm not saying it's good. I mean, your baby's mother lies and exaggerates. It doesn't mean you don't pay child support. I mean, you learn to understand that there's a degree, in particular in politics. Do you realize? I tell you, you don't have to be in politics. Be a preacher. Okay, my dad's a preacher. Do you know if my dad's having a great time and someone comes up and says their mother's dead, he's got to start acting sad. Otherwise, that person's going to feel like he doesn't care about their dead mother. Do you realize that when you deal with people, you're almost forced to be phony because people are full of shit and phony. They don't allow for authenticity. If I'm having a great time and your mama died and I keep smiling, you're going to get pissed. You're laughing at my mother, right? So you have to say, man, I'm really didn't even know the mother. I'm so sorry your mother died. I mean, if you don't do that, people get mad. So politicians who have to deal with lots of people, you've got to please them or you make them angry. And there's no more juvenile, infantile voter than an American voter. So you've got to hold up a big lollipop and a squeeze toy and all that to try to, like, you're going to try to talk policy. Try to talk academic discipline in the classroom. Try it. See how fast the teachers are leaving the teaching profession because the kids have cell phones. They can't compete with others. What am I there for? They're bored by the teacher. They can watch movies in their phones. Our voters are the same. Easily distracted. It all has to be glitz and glam. So Trump knows how to do that. Biden doesn't. Now moving right along. I never liked P. Diddy. Not gonna like P. Diddy. Cassie was a gold digging grifter that betrayed her first boyfriend. That doesn't mean she deserved to get kicked by a dude that kicked her like he's a menstruating soccer mom. But he did kick her. He dragged her like a caveman with that had his scrotum removed. But you don't beat up on women. I mean, and Diddy, and other people knew this. Look, Diddy we made Diddy. We've made all of these stars and people and excesses. We make all this stuff for the frat parties. We make all this stuff for the crooked big ministers that lie, cheat, and steal. We enable people that we like to do stuff that's degenerate because a lot of us want to live a certain way. People want to play pro sports so they can have so many people. There are 20 people that they can jizz in the face of. One isn't enough. They'll feel picked on if they just had one woman to be with. You want to be a rock star so you can have lots of groupies and that you can be celebrated and be the center of attention. We have a culture driven by petty lust, narcissism, degeneracy, and Diddy, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all of them embody it. It says something about us. We like trash. We like pigs. We like horror films more than we like romances. You need someone's head rolling down the hill and you're not happy. You need to see blood and guts. We have all these games of people getting killed. We seem to thrive on gore and things that are base instead of things that are exalted and that are transcendent. As long as we're that way, as long as Sexy Red is able to get on the radio and get airplay, regardless of who bankrolled her, the fact that she'd get invited to a school to speak And my friend that won a United Nations case for Black freedom around the world, Brother Larry Pinkney, isn't welcome to speak in local schools, being a political prisoner for 10 years, fighting for Black people, not invited anywhere. And Sexy Red, with her pussy pink and gonorrhea green lipstick, gets taken into schools for minors, says something's nasty about the adults and the leadership across the board in this country. The fact that the United Methodist Church is going to pretend that sodomy is God's will. And now we've got to change the Bible to suit transgenders and cross dressers and drag queens. Then we shouldn't be surprised that our celebrities mirror the moral bankruptcy of us as a society and a people. And why would we think that people who hate us, people who could do the atrocities that are happening in Gaza, if they controlled the music industry and they see us as darker and maybe even more contemptible than Palestinians, that they wouldn't promote people like Diddy, Jay-Z, Sexy Red, or Fly Red, the boy that had the song Throw That Boy Pussy that was out a few years ago, produced by Lil Wayne. Why all this degeneracy and the porn and all this is promoted by the very same people we pretend are the descendants of the ancient Hebrews, who can't prove it, who don't take DNA tests. And when people like me bring it up, we get told we hate people for discussing genetic facts. It's not an attack on someone to say a person from Poland isn't a Hebrew. A person from the Palatine of the Rhine Valley isn't a Hebrew. They may be a convert to Judaism. They may like all of the Kippolah and the Kabbalah and all the little Jewish voodoo and the stuff in the Talmud, but you're not a Hebrew. You may be Jewish. You're not descendant of the 12 tribes. The scriptures talk about the synagogue of Satan. And if we ever see an apt example of the synagogue of Satan, it's your racist evangelicals who bankroll this genocide going on, not just there in Israel, but also what's going on in Haiti, in Congo, in Darfur, and in the ghettos across this country, whether it's organ harvesting, whether it's this transgenderism, the mass mutilation, sexual mutilation of children, the people who promote pornography in the schools and all this other filth. That's certainly satanic to me. And the evangelicals who supported apartheid, slavery, racial discrimination, colonialism, and apartheid are also part of the synagogue of Satan. I want to say to you, for all of you who can't stand Trump, but you feel sorry for Diddy, need to understand that you're a contradiction, that Trump is nothing but a white, wealthier version of Diddy. And Diddy is a black wannabe of Trump. That's why this is called From Dump and Shiddy, Angry Black News Analysis. The difference between the two is the color of the skin, but not the heart thereof. Trump has run through women. Diddy has run through women. The late Dick Gregory, when I had dinner with him last, insisted that he had seen pictures of Trump urinating on boys in Moscow. I don't know. I didn't see. I can't claim. I never saw the pictures. Dick Gregory insisted. Okay, he never lived to see it. Dick Gregory died in 2017. I guess he died shortly after Trump became president. He died, Trump became president in January 2017, but Dick had told us in 2016 that there would be no further president. So Dick Gregory was a man, a great man, but definitely not infallible. Was Trump friends with Jeffrey Epstein? Yes, but so was Diddy. So was Bill Clinton. So was, who's that dude that was in Rush Hour? The black dude actor?
Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker. Oprah Winfrey. Almost everybody that you look up to hung with Epstein or they hung with Diddy. People know what this stuff is. And so in reality, it's not really a choice between Trump and Diddy. It's a choice between righteousness and wickedness. And right now, the public, at least the American public, has chosen wickedness and degeneracy. So they're not really in a position to judge Diddy. In reality, people wish they could live the same way.
That's right.
The reason that people have been silent about all this is that they keep their mouths shut, they could keep getting the checks and the payoffs, and that they could be a part of it. Do I think Jay-Z is any better? I think Jay-Z is just as vile as Diddy, and he's not alone. And so I think, frankly, it's more a portrait of America and how vile we become as a society. The same way hundreds of thousands of children, without verification of who their parents are, have been brought to this country under the leadership of Joe Biden. Where are those children? What will happen to those children? Why were they kept in cages? Why were those children having sex in the hotels down in Texas? And why did that quickly disappear out of the news? Where will these children be? What will they do? Why is it that a lot of these children that are being moved, they're being taken, or people are being taken to cities that have big pride days? It's pride months. They're here in Washington, they're in New York, they're in Chicago, they're in the places. Are they there to service the much elements of the American public? I suspect so. That the diseases that they carry, TB, typhoid, and many other things, will be spread to those Americans that saw the new flesh coming in, the 12 to 15 million people, as new meat to fornicate and to get cheap sex off of, not just cheap labor in the fields, but cheap labor in hotels, to reinforce the worn out labor force of the sex trafficked people who have a short shelf life. I got muted. Hey, y'all, they muted me. They didn't like what I was saying, the little nasty people. Um, I don't support anybody I don't support anybody's support of Diddy any more than I support um, the rapes that took place on Howard's campus and the University of Virginia's campus by your fraternity. What's your take on the crimes and all the stuff that's covered up, Brian? In fact, Diddy's not doing anything that the Greek letter organizations don't do. In fact, I think Diddy, hanging out at Howard, got to watch how the Greeks got down, and he's copied. They've laid a whole template for debauched behavior. That's my answer. Um, I've never hidden how I feel about Diddy at any point in time. If anyone dared ask me, it's all over the internet if someone asks. I'm direct with anyone that asks. My question again. Um, anyway, we need to go, brother, because they're messing with this thing.
With that, you guys, appreciate everybody in the chat for joining us tonight.
Yes,
very,
sir.
Very interesting topic. We really need to sit back and just watch the tape play when it comes to the next, like Dr. Short told me on the phone, the next 50 days in Iran is going to be very crucial. How they choose to handle it. See, one thing about